as we're talking, I'm getting flashbacks of whenever I was an apprentice and I started buying my own tubes and needles. And I remember being told uh, diamond tip tubes are for true professionals and round tip tubes are for beginners because a round tip tube, the needle is allowed to slip around and get wacky. In the diamond tip, you've learned how to keep the needle in the bottom of the tube, riding the bottom of the tube. So you're able to approach the tattoo from a specific direction. And so I don't know, after I tattooed with coils for years, I don't know that I believe that. I don't know that I ever noticed a difference, but it was a conversation that was being had, nearly or probably over 30 years ago.
I definitely
Before a
noticed the
cartridge
difference
was ever
on those. I was lucky enough. The first shop I was at, we had a machine shop or some metalworking stuff in the back, and we could resolder, put some stuff together, making our own jewelry and needles and everything from scratch back then. And I noticed as we were putting tubes together, I hear some of that, and I did find that there was a big difference. Not noticeable, and again, it comes down to what we were talking about earlier, is training your eye. It all has to do with the level of scrutiny you're willing to put towards something. Sometimes, there's clearly a line in anything where you're just making trouble for yourself. It's not worth agonizing over this or that, or it doesn't make a real noticeable difference. But really, until you test, you don't know which of those things are, oh, I found something really useful that we should be paying attention to, or that. And I felt like that was one of them. Years later, after, I was, I think, in some ways later getting rid of metal tubes, but not entirely, because I found a different way to do them, where you have a plastic, disposable or the nylon tips, but still have the metal grip for balancing. And what got me to change that was even really before cartridges were big, was that that's where all the rubbing on the metal was coming from. If people had a round liner, they would have 3-4 rubber bands around the liner. It's like, oh, it doesn't move. Yeah, it's because you got so much back tension on that thing that you're basically scraping and cutting through the metal. Even if it starts off as a round tip tube, it's going to be a diamond in the end because you cut a groove into it, and all that extra metal goes into somebody's skin. That's why whites used to turn gray when you tattoo with them. It wasn't the ink, it was the rubbing of the metal going into the white ink, I felt like that was important. I feel like with the cartridge setups, I don't think they need to have any kind of back pressure, but something to stabilize the bar is all that it really needs. I feel like most of them, they vary a lot, and it really depends on how thick your inks are and how you use them, how effective you think the spaces are in them. But having a little space all the way around it seems to be mostly good. Most of these tubes, they have the potential to be much better tools in every way, but everybody's got to kind of stop ignoring that problem. When I say everybody, I mean manufacturers. Obviously, we work with the best tools we can get, and that's about all we can do right now.